What spiritual practice has shaped you the most over time, and how has it changed the way you understand yourself and others?
I'd say the first time I was taught how to meditate.
Yeah. Yeah, I would add the invocation, but it's not the only way to get to that place. And I was just thinking earlier today that one good thing that I think has been reinforced in my awareness, practice, attitude, is that I quite some time ago decided that to remain sane, that you had to learn to step back from things. And I thought of that as being objective. But if you step all the way back, you end up in your center, I guess. But I found that, there's spiritual practices that induce that, even if they don't say they're doing that.
Well, I was thinking of, and it seems like in the last few years, and I think we talk about it a lot in this group, the distinction between my religious or my spiritual life and then the ordinary, mundane life. It seems to have sort of broken down. I mean, I see it more. I mean, it's all. I don't see that distinction so much. I mean, I can tell. Yeah, if I can watch news and get outraged or unhappy or sad or disappointed about what's going on, but that's a part of the challenge of the spiritual path I'm on, and we're all on. But there is like, we're going to talk sometimes about, detaching ourselves from the world.
Right.
Somehow get away from that ordinary life. You can imbibe of some sense of spiritual uplifting, but I mean, I think more and more I see it as it's all the same thing. It's all the spiritual life. That's my answer. Luna, yeah.
Probably just spending time in nature and walking. St. Augustine said all things are solved by walking. I think a lot of the various spiritual practices as such, as practices, tend to get concretized and ossified and don't work for me as well as they may work for some other people. But what works for me among certain other things is just getting out of my head and appreciating the divinity inherent in all things in nature.
Yeah, nature is really an invitation to be present without identification. The news is an invitation to be detached in a different way. In other words, if you need something to remind you that my kingdom is not of this world, watching the news will do it.
On this vacation, my wife has been a birder now for many years, and I sort of go along because I enjoy getting out in nature and walking, and sometimes. So I have my binoculars, and I've learned the names of certain birds just by.
Yes.
So on this vacation, one of my daughters, the younger daughter, has also become a birder. So the three of us went to a bird watch place about, hour drive from where we were staying in Lewis, Delaware. It's called Bombay Hook, I guess. And it's a refuge, a nature refuge, and operated by the federal government. And but just going out with looking at all the different birds in this kind of, what do you call it, wetlands, so close to the Delaware Bay. It has ponds. And I mean, I guess most people don't think of bird watching as a religious practice, but it is. I mean,
It's seeking.
yeah, you're seeing all these creatures and thinking, oh my God, it's different from us. I mean,
Yeah. If you could say, oh my God, with awareness of what you're saying, you see that it can be a spiritual experience.
yeah, I mean, they can fly.
Yeah.
But can you imagine? Actually fly in the air.
Yeah. And a lot of the time when they're not flying, they seem to be independent of gravity too. I guess because they know they can always flap their wings, but they move in space as if they're not going to fall. Yeah. Anyway, I have used watching the news as a way to work on detachment. And sometimes I feel it'd be better to turn it off, of course, but there's just, there's so much suffering and there's so much stupidity in the world, and you can't afford to be very attached to it, or it'll drag you down with it. And it's going to do what it's doing with or without you. So there's no reason you can't be in it, but still watch it from a distance.
I mean, you see opportunities to do something. I mean, I give so much money every month to whatever, some of those UN agencies to feed people. Of course, they haven't been able to get into Gaza and Sudan. Right now, for months, they haven't been able to get the food. They've had the food.
Yeah.
Just haven't been able to get it in.
Yeah, all of their relief, whatever they are, efforts, the parts of the organization that do that, they're all hurting for money in a way that they haven't been recently. I mean, recently it's been a lot worse than usual. And, when you consider that all Israel had to do was claim that there were Hamas people in the United Nations relief fund that took care of Gaza, countries cut off their money. Now, a lot of them have restored their funding, but not the U.S., and we were one of the biggest donors. So, periodically I tune into the Secretary General's update, which is usually given by his assistant, but he's got one most days, and the money has come up repeatedly. And this is a very, very strange time. We have this United Nations thing that everybody set up to help mediate the affairs between countries and everything. And it's always, been hard for some people to accept that the UN is going to tell them anything. But there's a kind of crisis forming around the United Nations because it's a sort of a general global willingness to ignore what we would call the rule of law, international or otherwise.
Yeah. Well, and the fact that Trump doesn't like it, I mean, the U.S., I think, has always been the major contributor to most of the United Nations.
Yeah.
There's dozens of them, and they do a lot of good work.
They do.
Sometimes it's, most of the time it's not controversial, but we hear about the most controversial things where they just can't agree, and so nothing happens. But there's a lot of areas where they do agree and do a lot of good things. Organization. But Trump says, oh, well, that's all. We don't want anything to do with that. Let's cut off the funds. So that's hurting those organizations a lot. So
it is, yeah. Yeah, there are a lot of places where it used to be just assumed that it was appropriate to send aid, and suddenly we've become a whole lot stingier.
What's in it for us?
Yeah,
What's in it for Trump, actually, isn't it?
yeah. But Trump has encouraged that attitude with regard to, by saying America first and all that.
Well, maybe we could do one more question.
Maybe. Let's see.
Getting lost in politics again.
Are there aspects of your daily routine, eating, walking, cleaning, resting, that could become spiritual practices if approached with more care and attention?
Sure.
Sure. Yeah, short answer is yes. And we talk about that very frequently in this group.
Attention is the key. And intention.
Care and attention, or just realizing that these cleaning and walking, the sort of ordinary activities of being alive.
Yeah, and there are activities. There's something where you act but need not be attached. It doesn't have to be a personal thing. Washing dishes is, not really about you.
Well, you're just, taking care of the people around you that you love and you care for, expressing that, just not just I love you, but actually doing things to help is
Right.
That's the part of the love God and love your neighbor and love your family. That's all
Right.
with our spiritual mission and life.
Yeah, and faith and works are recommended.
Well, I think they're not just recommended, but essential. They're requisite, I would say.
Yes, exactly. One without the other is, not the way to go. Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of activities can become more contemplative if you remove that goal in the future. So you're not caught up in time, trying to get to the other side of this interval of time or whatever. If the switch to being present without trying to go somewhere and doing something without actually being identified with the doing.
I had this, when we moved, it's been almost 2 years, from Falls Church to Herndon. We're very close to Dulles, but I had to find a new mechanic, and then searched and tried one place and then found another one, and it's a man and his son who were Iranian, not Muslim, I guess, but Baha'i, whatever.
Yeah. Heretics, if you
Kind of
yeah.
of Islam, perhaps. But I got to, over the last year and a half, I've gotten quite friendly with them, and so the father was retiring and the son was sort of taking over in that period of time, and so I had problems with the water pump a month or so ago, and he took it in and he replaced it. But he said, bring it back in a few days. I need to check on it. So I brought it back in a few days, and it was, he said that there was a gasket that didn't seem to work exactly, and it's leaking a little bit. So I think I'm going to have to replace it with something that, at least replace the gasket.
Yeah, right.
And I told him I have this vacation coming up, told him when I would be leaving, and so the week before I left, he worked on it. And then he told me, said, well, I'm not going to charge you anything. I'm just fixing what should have been done. So let's see, this is a long story. One of my Tai Chi courses on Chinese New Year, which was late January, the instructor, there's like 6 or 8 adults in this class, and she gave us a little envelope with a $2 bill, and it had something written on it in Chinese. And anyway, everybody got one of these, and I've had it on my desk saying, what am I going to do with it? $2. So I decided, well, I would give it to him. He was going to do all this work, and it turned out to be quite a bit of work. He had to go through several different gaskets until he found the right one that fit.
Yeah.
So realizing I was going to get it like the day before I left on my vacation, I went to a bank and I got a $100 bill, and I put a $100 bill in with a $2 bill. And when I picked up the car, I gave it to him. I said, and like I said, I just got this as a little gift from one of my Tai Chi instructors that I wanted. It's kind of a good luck charm. It's just $2. And I gave it to him and drove off. But I thought when he opens it up, he'll see that, well, it's a little more than $2. But
Yeah.
anyway, he said, well, after your vacation, come, let me check one more time. So I'll see him sometime this week, probably, or next week.
That's a really old-fashioned mechanic.
Yeah.
I grew up in a gas station. My father was a mechanic. They don't make them like that anymore.
Oh, I really like both he and his father. They're just so friendly, and they don't charge much. It's cheaper than, and you just it feels like a personal relationship. If you go to a dealership, you only deal with a guy that sits behind a desk and does paperwork, and
Yeah.
never talk to the mechanic. That's a different world back there but here they will walk you in and say, now look here, there's a flashlight, show you what's wrong.
Yeah.
Looking up at it.
It's the way it ought to be.
Anyway, I don't know why that story came up, but it seemed like a gracious thing to do. I'm proud of it, so I'm bragging to you. But maybe it's an example of just ordinary life, but
It is.
being kind to people who are, kind to me in this case. So.
Yeah. It's like, it's really important, but it's kind of no big deal, on the other level. It just should be sort of a natural, ordinary thing to do, to be kind.
Yeah. And the week he was working on it, it was one of those really, really hot weeks. He was having to close at 3 o'clock because they don't have any air conditioner in that
Oh, wow.
big bay they have.
Yeah.
He said, and I asked him, I said, you close at 3? He said, hey, we can't work. It's too hot to work past. They come in early, but
Yeah.
it's too hot to work past 3 o'clock.
It's going to be like that over most of the country pretty soon.
Yeah, next few days here.
Yeah, we've had just a remarkable, amount of really hot and now hot and muggy days. It's a little out of the ordinary, even in the summer, because it's just gone on and on and on.
So here we are back at the weather, climate change.
Yeah. Certainly, the weather, it's no surprise the weather changes. Sometimes it's hard to make the distinction between the weather and the climate, but give us a few more years and we'll get a little more clear on it.
I'm going to talk about the weather whether you like it or not.
Yeah. Well, it's probably going to be more and more of a topic.
Yeah.
Changes.
Well, I think there's a good chance there will be a kind of backlash to Trump and all of his climate change stuff. And I'm thinking he'll probably not be in office as long as he thinks he will be.
Well, that would be really nice.
But whenever it is, whenever he leaves, then the other side takes over. Even if a moderate Republican's involved, I think there'll be
Yeah, I mean, it's not
legislation come through from trying to address the problem, because we'll be burning up, you know.
well, if we can avoid martial law, then we could have a change in regimes and do whatever we can, even though some of it is arriving a little late to the game.
Well, better late than never, I guess.
Yeah, well, that's true. There's time to do something worthwhile.